We are going to read another biography this week with our Making Meaning books. And remember, a biography is a story, a true story written about a real person to give us facts about their life, and maybe we can learn something from their life, just like Wilma and Brave Harriet. Today we are going to read the story of Sonia Sotomayor. I think I'm saying that correct. And it is a story about she was the first Hispanic Supreme Court judge. It's a judge, okay? And they are the highest court in the United States, and the president only selects 9 of them. And she was the first Hispanic woman, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to work in our Making Meaning workbook again. And just like what we've done with Wilma and Brave Harriet, we're going to be wondering and learning. So I need you to turn to page 27. Now, for this story, they only gave us 1 page to wonder and learn. So what we're going to do is draw a line right down the middle of the page. That way we've got space for today and space for tomorrow. So that way we've got, draw a line down the middle of the page. That way we can work today up top and tomorrow we can work in the bottom, okay? So let me draw a line. Sorry, let me put my stuff down. Through my board. And we will get started. What I learned and what I wonder. I'm already wondering something since I gave you a little bit of background knowledge. You never know what can happen. Now this book looks longer because the top part is written in English and then it's also in Spanish, which I'm not going to read because I don't speak Spanish. You never know what can happen. Sometimes the most beautiful moonflower blossoms in an unexpected place on a chain link fence near broken glass next to an abandoned building, watered by someone whose name you might not even know. So to me, that sounds like they're struggling a little bit, okay? A chain link fence, broken glass, an abandoned building. So I'm wondering, where does she live with all that stuff going on? So you can write that wonder too. Where does she live? Now, because we have to split it in half, you're probably going to need to make sure you write really neat and kind of small. And sometimes the most amazing person blossoms in such a place as well. So it was with a little girl named Sonia. Her blossoming began with her mother's love and hard work. Cute little thing, huh? Oh, how Sonia's mother loved her. She worked night and day and day and night as a switchboard operator just so she could pay for Sonia's and her brother's private schools. She had never made it past the 3rd grade when she was a girl, but she sure wanted her children to. So her mom was very driven and motivated. Mom never made it past the 3rd grade, but she worked extra long to make sure that her kids were well taken care of. They lived in a public housing project in a part of New York called the South Bronx, a place where most people had precious little money, and Sonia's family was no different, only with their mother to support them. Do you have a wonder here? It says only with their mother to support them. I wonder. What are you wondering? I bet we were wondering the same thing. What happened to Dad? And we did learn something too. Where was she from? Where did it tell us that they lived? She was raised in South Bronx in New York. She was raised in, I'm just going to write New York. Oh, well, South Bronx. And Y for New York. Okay. Oh, remember, sometimes we answer our questions and sometimes we don't. Right now we get to answer our question. You see, Sonia's father had died when she was 9 years old. Just leaving an empty chair and much sadness. So that's a portrait of her dad. And remember, sometimes even nonfiction can be illustrated. It doesn't always have to be photographs. But you can't give in to sadness when your children need to eat. That's why Sonia's mom worked and then came home and cooked pork chops. To Sonia, this was heaven. Oh, how she loved her mother. That must be her favorite food, pork chops. Or maybe it was a special treat. I like pork chops too. When Sonia's mother wasn't cooking or working, she was studying. She wanted to become a nurse so she could make better wages and help her children even more. While Sonia slept, sometimes her mother stayed up until midnight doing her homework. There was nothing she would not do to help Sonia or her brother. Wow, her mom was very motivated and driven to make a good life for her children. So that's something we learned about her mom. Her mom wanted to become a nurse. Her mom wanted to be a nurse. I don't know why it has that little reflection there. Sonia loved the world her mother gave her. Her mother and father were from Puerto Rico, and Sonia grew up surrounded by the tastes and sounds of Puerto Rican culture. A favorite meal was Spanish rice and beans, and she loved the big family parties where the merengue music filled the air. So her mom and dad were from Puerto Rico. That's another thing we learned, right? Mom and dad were from Puerto Rico. I want to make sure I spell it correctly. We haven't learned a whole lot about how she became a justice yet. We're still getting the background knowledge of her family, which is always good to have. On Saturday nights, Sonia's family and friends would get together. While the grown-ups sat in one room playing dominoes, Sonia and her cousins played Loteria. I don't speak Spanish, so I apologize if I said it wrong. A Latin American bingo game. Sonia's abuelita would shout out the numbers while the grandkids marked their cards with chickpeas. Sonia's family surrounded her like a warm blanket. So they had a good family bond. So that might be a game you can research. It's a bingo game. I don't know. Where's the word? Right here. Not too many wonders yet so far from me, but you might have one, and if you do, write it down. She was also surrounded by books, school books, library books, and a set of encyclopedias. Her mother had saved all her pennies and nickels and dimes to buy, and when the schoolwork was done, there were her favorite books, the Nancy Drew Mysteries. Oh, so Sonia liked to do what? She liked to read. She loved to read. Sometimes when I write the word love, I put a heart instead of an O. That's how I always write Vivi's lunchbox notes. Nancy Drew was a girl detective who was always on the go, solving crimes. She was unstoppable. That's who Sonia wanted to be. I wonder, will she become a detective? Because just because we know that she's a judge doesn't mean she didn't have a different job before. People can have more than one job. Does she become a detective? That would be a fun job, wouldn't it?
Can we please have any second grade retake students to come to the front foyer at this time?
But something happened that made her change her mind. When she was only 8, that's probably how old you are. You're either 8 or 9. Her doctor sat her down and told her some bad news. She had a disease called diabetes. If you have diabetes, you have to take several shots of medicine a day for the rest of your life. So maybe she wouldn't be Nancy Drew, but that didn't mean she couldn't be unstoppable. Her favorite TV show was Perry Mason, about a courtroom lawyer. So we learned that she got diabetes. You might not have enough space. I have to write really small. She has diabetes. Okay, we're going to read one more page and see if we can get a wonder out of here. One episode ended with the image of a judge, the most powerful person in the courtroom. A light bulb went off above her head, and she knew she would become a judge. Becoming a judge, though, that's not easy. Sonia knew she'd have to get really good grades to become a judge. So while other kids may have been goofing off, Sonia was studying at her mother's kitchen table year after year after year after year. And we're going to stop there, and we're going to find out the details tomorrow. We're going to do some more wonders and some more learned. I would say, does she become a judge? But I already gave you the answer to that. So tomorrow we're going to finish up with Sonia. And hopefully we're getting some inspiration from her to be really driven. Go after what you want, right? That could probably be the theme of the story. So we'll finish it up tomorrow, and make sure you have your workbook too.